This is level M, list 9, and we're doing the day 1 page, and we're looking at OR for the OR sounds. We could go through and highlight those. So OR for OR, there are 11 different ways of writing the OR sound. This is one of the easiest ones, and we're just using that simple OR sound in some harder words. Okay, the other thing we're looking at is ly on the end of a word, and commonly we use ly on the end of a word to form an adverb. So these words are words that you would use a lot when you're writing a persuasive text. Right, let's go back and look at any other things that we can see happening in these words. So we've got order, we've got the sound at the end. We tend to give that a schwat sound, like order, order, but if we say them correctly, then it would be easier for us to spell them. CE is the common sound at the end of a word. In orchard, we've got the CH making the ch sound, and we've also got the AR, as in car, making the R sound. This is a word that we often shorten the pronunciation, so rather than saying orchard, we say orchard. So if you take the time to pronounce it correctly while you're spelling it, you should get that correct quite easily. Okay, shortbread has quite a lot in it. We have the SH for the sh sound, and here the EA, it can make a long E sound, but in bread it's making it short S sound. Firstly, we've got the IR for the sound, firstly. Secondly, you've got k, so you know you're using a C for the k sound before an O. Secondly, you can sound that one out. Lastly, it might be easier for you to say lastly, to remember not to put in that R, so we do pronounce it lastly, but there is no R there. It's the A making its broad R sound. Finally, you've got the double L there. It comes from the word final, and then we're adding the ly. So the common mistake is that kids only put the one L. So you're writing the word final and adding the suffix ly to the end of it. That's why you're getting the double L. Let's go back and look at what these words mean. So organ could mean an instrument, a musical instrument, that it's a little bit like a piano, but it has pipes to make the sound, make more of an impact with the sound. We've also got the organs of the body. So a heart is one of the major 5 organs of the body. Order is when you put things into, you categorise things into a certain way. So this group have been all ordered from the shortest to the tallest, or you could do from the tallest to the shortest. So it's putting some organisation into a group, in some order. A border is the edge of something, so you might plant some shrubs around the edge of your garden at home, so you have a border. Or we have a border between the states in Australia to show where one state ends and another state starts. So it's the edge of. A force is a group, could be a group of people like the police force, or it could be a movement forward, in a forward direction. So the wind has a lot of force, so it means the wind is coming at us at a very strong direction. Orchard is where we plant lots of fruit trees and we can collect the fruit when they're ripe. Shortbread is like a biscuit with lots of sugar and butter in it. Firstly, secondly, lastly and finally are important words when you're writing a persuasive text, as we said before. So you would state your first argument, your second argument. You'd summarise your conclusion with lastly or finally. So very important words that you know how to spell, so when you're writing you can easily write them correctly. Let's read them, sound them, spell them and write them. Now you may want to break them into syllables, so you'd have organ, order. So when you have a vowel with an R, it becomes an R-controlled vowel, and all R-controlled vowels make a long sound. So we've got organ, 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 O-R-G-A-N, O-R-G-A-N, O-R-G-A-N. It's important to spell these words too, apart from sound them, because if you just sounded them, you might not put that A at the end of organ. You might give it a schwat sound, which would be an E, but we really need it to be that A, organ, A-N at the end. Okay, you can finish that page on your own, so don't forget to read them, sound them, spell them, write them, and then check if you've made a mistake. Level M, list 9, day 2, we're looking at OR for the OR sound, and we're also looking at words that end in LY. So quite commonly when you see a word ending in LY, or you add LY to the end of a word, it forms an adverb. So let's have a look at the words we've got today. We've got organ, order, border, force, orchard, shortbread, firstly, secondly, lastly, finally. So let's have a look at what else is hidden within these words. So organ, we tend to give it a schwat sound on the end and say organ. Order, we've got the ER on the end there. Border, we tend to once again give that a schwat sound where we'll go order, order. Force, we've got the CE making that sound at the end of the word, because we know a C followed by an EI or a Y when we can say orchard. We've got the ch sound, and we've also got the AR for the R sound. But once again, we quite often give that a schwat sound, and we go orchard, orchard. Shortbread, you've got the EA making a short X sound here, and you've got the SH at the start of the word. Firstly, remember it's the IR making the sound there, not the ER or UR. Secondly, we know to use a C for the k sound before an O, A, O, U, or an L or R, and so that's just second. So we're getting that k sound there. Lastly, we probably should say lastly, but this A is making a broad sound, so it's sounding like there's an R in there. You have to remember not to put an R in there. You could say lastly to make the spelling easier, but generally we say lastly. Finally comes from the word finite, so you've got final, so you've got the AL, then you have to add another L for the LY to change it into an adverb. So always write the base word, which is final, and then add the suffix ly. So that's why you're getting the double L there. Now, what do these words mean? An organ could be a musical instrument that you might quite often hear played in a church or a cathedral. It also is one of the important parts of your body, such as your heart, your lungs, etc. Order might be when someone tells you to do something, they don't ask you, they tell you, so they order you to do something. Or it could be where you place an order for something, like you might order your lunch, where you tell someone what you would like and you order it, you write it down and you place the order. A border could be the edge of something, so the border around this page is that line. You could have plants in a border around a garden bed. There's another border too, which is going to come in down the bottom, where a border, this border is someone who boards. So boards could mean also that you live somewhere else, you live in another house with a family and you pay money to live there. So quite often in Australia, because some children live so far from a school, they can board at the school. So they can go to the school provides accommodation for them, and the parents have to pay the school to look after their children, to feed them and give them a safe place to sleep and bathe, etc. So that's what a border is. Force is when you make something happen. You can also, some people might join a group which is called like a police force, but it can be a big movement forwards. Orchard is where we grow trees together in a field and we gather the fruit from the trees, so it's called an orchard. Might be an apple orchard or something, or an orange orchard. Shortbread is a sweet biscuit. Firstly, secondly, lastly and finally are all adverbs. We quite often use these words when we're writing a persuasive text to state our first argument, second argument, our final point of view and or argument or opinion, and then finally is a good way of starting our conclusion. Now, remember that whenever you're using, if you ever start a sentence with an adverb, you must always put a comma after the adverb. So if you start the sentence with suddenly, you'd also have to put a comma after it. So don't forget that comma after the adverb in the sentence, if it's the start of the sentence. So we know what the words mean and how they're made up. Let's go through and read it, sound it, spell it, write it. So we've got organ. Let's break them up into syllables. It makes it much easier to sound them and spell them. So then we go O-R-G-A-N, cover it and write it. And you can do the rest of those on your own. Here you have to finish the sentence with a list word. So there are your list words that you're choosing from. Write a list word that means the edge, so you can have to find something to mean that shows that meaning. And then we've already discussed these two pieces down here. This is level M, list 9, and we're doing the day 3. And in this list we're revising OR for one of the many OR sounds. I think there are about 11 different ways we can write the OR sound in words, and this is probably one of the easiest ones. Then we've got ly, also in some words in here to fill that little gap, and they're forming adverbs. So we commonly add ly to the end of a word to form an adverb. Firstly, secondly, lastly, and finally are very handy words to make sure that you can spell, because you will use them in a persuasive text. So let's have a look at the words. Other words, we've got organ, order, border, force, orchard, shortbread, and we've just read through those ones. If you get another colour out, we'll go through and highlight some of the other things you need to take note of. So organ, nothing tricky in there. Order, you've got the ER at the end of order and border. So ER is one of the 3 R-controlled vowels that we commonly use that can make the sound. This is one we generally put on the end of a word. It can be in the middle of a word, but not very often. You know that when you see a C followed by an E, it's going to make the C make its soft sound S. And we commonly use CE at the end of words for the sound, because when we use SE at the end of a word frequently, it says Z, not S. Orchard, we've got the CH again happening, got that coming through in a few lists, and the AR making the R sound, another R-controlled vowel. Shortbread, we've got the EA here making its short sound E. Commonly you would know EA to make a long E sound, but it can also make a short E sound too. And we've got the SH at the start of that, shortbread. Firstly, you've got another R-controlled vowel in there, the IR, also making the sound. So we have ER, IR and UR commonly make the sound in or at the end of words. This one is quite often in the middle of a word. Secondly, you'll just have to sound that one out. Lastly, we've got the A making its broad sound here, so it sounds like there's an R in there, but you know there's not. So if you find it easier, you could say lastly rather than lastly. That would be saying to spell. Finally, you've got final as your base word, and then we're adding the ly on the end. Now final is your base word and you're adding ly, that means you're going to have 2 L's in there, so be careful on that one. If we want to break these words up into syllables to make the sounding of them easier before we spell them, you break organ. Now or is a long vowel, any R-controlled vowel makes a long vowel sound, so we would split it after the long vowel sound, same as in order and border, and we'd say that's an open syllable. Okay, force is 1 syllable. Orchard is, you're splitting after that long or sound. Shortbread, you've got 2 syllables there. Firstly, you're writing here you're breaking it after the base word. Second plus the ly, you do that one. Sec, it's a short sound, so we do that. secondly. Lastly, you've got the base word plus ly. Finally, you've got the base word plus the ly. All right, let's read the word, sound the word and spell them. I would suggest you break them into syllables or break them into base word plus down here. So you've got organ, O-R-G-A-N. Cover it over, O-R-G-A-N. And down here you go firstly, F-I-R-S-T-L-Y. Cover it, write it, and check it. And if you make a mistake, rub it out and do it again. Verb family, so we've got the base words would be order, border, force. Here you're adding the S, here you're adding the ing, and here you're quite often adding ed to make it into its past tense. Find the incorrect verb and replace it with in the correct tense. So there was a long queue of students ordered their lunch today. That's quite hard to read it incorrectly because I already wanted to say ordering their lunch today. You have to find the verb that is wrong and replace it, rewrite it here in its correct tense so the sentence sounds better and works better. Write these words and highlight each base word. So orderly, of course, the base word would be order. You know what the base words are because they're up there. Once you've made those words, then you have to choose two of them to write into sentences. Now down here, don't forget, you're going to need that to recognise that you've got that double L here. When you're changing the Y over, just be careful too because you're changing the whole structure of some of these words. Research, and there's 5 organs in your body. You'll probably know some of those without even researching. But if you get stuck, don't forget to Google it or look it up. What does it mean to force someone's hand, to be the organ grinder's monkey, and to get your marching orders? So you may need to discuss those in your group to work out what the answers are. This is level M, list 9, and we're doing the day 4 page on apostrophes. So we use apostrophes for contractions and to show possession. So let's have a look. An apostrophe is added to a word to show a contraction when we join 2 words together and we take out some letters when we do that join and we put the apostrophe in where we've taken out the letters. So I am becomes I'm with the apostrophe where we took out the A there. We also use apostrophes to show possession, and that shows that something belongs to something or someone. So David's coat was too small. We're not saying there's lots of Davids, it's not used as a plural. We say, and we can't say David coat, so we've got to make it sound right, we've got to put the S on the end. David's coat was too small. So there, the base word is David, and with possessive apostrophes, the apostrophe always goes after the base word. So there's only one David, so David is the base word. To show possession, write in the noun or proper noun, add an apostrophe, then an S. So rewrite the phrase using an apostrophe. The book has a cover. Now there's only one book, so book is the base word. So we must put in the apostrophe after the base word and then add the S. We're not saying there's lots of books. We're saying there's one book and we're talking about its cover. So the cover belongs to the book. So the hat belongs to Alison. So when we write Alison's hat, we're not saying there's lots of Alisons. There's only one Alison. So that's the base word. The apostrophe goes at the end of the base word. And the only reason we're putting the S on the end is because it would sound funny if we said Alison hat. We have to make it sound right, we've got to say Alison's hat. But it's still indicating a singular or one Alison, so the apostrophe goes at the end of Alison and then we add the S to show that possession. You can finish those ones on your own. Now when we have a plural noun, that's a word ending in S, and also names ending in S, you have a choice to make. Today you only have to add the apostrophe after the S, but in the past you were able to add another S as well. So you can make the choice whether you just put the apostrophe after the S, or you put it after the final S of the base word and then add another S. We find this easier to do, just put the apostrophe after it. So rewrite the phrase using an apostrophe. The bed belongs to the puppies. So here we know there are lots of puppies. There's more than one. So we have to write puppies in plural form. Now because puppies ends with an S, we're just going to put the apostrophe after that plural form, puppies. That's the base word, puppies. The nest belongs to the ants. So we'd say the ant's nest. We know there's lots of ants, so the base word would be ants with the S on the end. It's a plural form of ant. So the apostrophe would go after the S. Because Nicholas's name already ends in an S, we're not saying there are lots of Nicholases, we're saying there's only one, but because he's already got the S there, once again, that's the base word, so we can just simply put the S, the apostrophe after that final S. You can do the last couple on your own. Down here you have to insert the missing apostrophes for the contraction. So every sentence has a contraction in it, and then you have to go and fill in the blank with the noun or proper noun to show possession. So we're going to finish the ice cream at Darcy's house. So which word would be the contraction? It would be we're, and so it's short for we are. So you'd have to put the apostrophe in between the we and the R-E. So we've taken out the A there, and that's where the apostrophe goes for the contraction, where we've taken out the letter. Now, if we're talking about we're going to Darcy's house, there's only one Darcy, so Darcy is the base word, so you'd have to put your apostrophe at the end of the base word before you add the S. You can work through the rest of those within your group.